Hello, hello. Yeah. Hi. Hello, everyone. We are live. Happy Monday. We've got Mothering and Matrescence Monday again. And today I have Clover joining me. And she's here. Hi. And we will be talking about pregnancy and anxiety. Clover, she is a hypnobirthing teacher, and I'm gonna ask her to join now. Yes. Oh, go. Hello. Are you here, Clover?
Hi,
Yes.
good morning.
Yeah. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to be here.
So, just introduction. This is a series live Instagram that I'm doing to talk about different topics that might have an impact on how we as women experience matrescence, which is that process of becoming a mother. And this matrescence is unique, and the experience is unique for everyone, and really depends on many things and many circumstances around our pregnancy experience, our birth experience, the support that we have. There's so many things. And I think there are a lot of topics that we don't expect or don't know about and don't talk about enough. So that's
Mhm.
why I created this space to talk about those topics. And today I've got you, and we'll be talking
Yeah.
about pregnancy and anxiety.
Mhm.
But because before we do, can you tell me a little bit about you and what brought you to start doing this work?
Yeah, so I had a lot of anxiety during my first pregnancy. So prior to that, I was living with my brother and sister-in-law, and unfortunately, my niece was stillborn. So she was 40 weeks. And unfortunately she was stillborn, but so I was very much in that kind of trauma and kind of very much involved in kind of everything, and I saw everything. And so when I then a few years later got pregnant, I was super anxious, quite understandably, and I did a lot of things during my pregnancy to help. So I had kind of therapy on the NHS, which I didn't even know was a thing. um, I had I did a self-diagnosis to IAPT, so I went through kind of anxiety, CBT therapy, and then
Mm-hmm.
I found hypnobirthing as well, and I kind of threw myself into it, and it really helped through pregnancy and birth. I ended up having a really positive um, induction, which people are often
Mm-hmm.
surprised about, that you can have a
Yeah.
positive induction, but it was really positive. And I kind of came out of that birth, and when you first become a mum, you're really overwhelmed, but I was really proud of the birth that I had, and I found I would tell people, and they would kind of be like, oh well, that wasn't my experience. My birth was really traumatic, and I've
Mm-hmm.
entered motherhood being really traumatized and overwhelmed and sad about what happened and stuff. So I kept telling people my story, and it got to the point where I was like, maybe I can help here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher, and I've been kind of helping women on that journey ever since.
Mm. Yeah, that's nice to hear. It's a lovely story, and it's a positive story. And you said, like you said, um, there are many situations where it's different. So I
Mm.
think it's great that you're sharing your story and inspiring people to
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's that fine line between, like, obviously I share my story quite a lot, and I don't want to scare people, but I think it's really important to have that awareness of, you know, things that are going on, that people aren't alone, that lots of people experience the same thing. And you can have anxiety for so many different reasons. Like, it doesn't need to be anything big and traumatic. You can have anxiety from kind of social anxiety or literally anything. But the fact is, we're all in it together, and how we're feeling is completely normal. And you know, mine was a very traumatic experience, but lots and lots of women go through that and then go on to have, you know, later pregnancies and births and stuff. And we need to know that we're all in it together and we can all support each other. It's really, really, really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was wondering, so how can we tell that there's anxiety, or what are the symptoms of that? Because I was wondering if you experienced anxiety before pregnancy, or is it just something that came with related to pregnancy exclusively?
I've had anxiety in the past before. When I was a kid, I used to get panic attacks quite, not a lot, but quite like sporadically, more if there was something kind of big happening in my life. I would feel quite anxious about it. And I think there's a lot of women that go through it, and there's so many different spectrums of how anxiety can show up. So for example, like the Mind charity, they say that 1 in 4 women suffer anxiety during pregnancy. I personally feel like it's way higher than that, just from the women I talk to. And when you open up, people tend to open up, and I just think it's a lot more than that. But there are different spectrums. There can be kind of social anxiety, there can be anxiety from a trauma, and there's different ways that it can show up. So it can show up in your body, so that kind of churning feeling in your tummy. You can have trouble sleeping, you can have headaches, back pain, and some of this comes with pregnancy anyway. Like back pain is a given in pregnancy, and finding it hard to sleep is also kind of a given in pregnancy. But I think it's acknowledging that they're different from maybe those normal feelings. You can also have like dizziness and just feeling nauseous, which again comes with pregnancy. So I think it is quite hard to say, is this just a pregnant feeling that I'm feeling? Because if you're a first time pregnant person, then it might be all these new feelings and you don't quite know. But I think it's tuning into your body and knowing this maybe doesn't feel quite right. Maybe I shouldn't be feeling like that. I think mother's instinct can tell you a lot if you're listening to your body. There's also kind of more mental things that come with anxiety. So it's like constantly feeling like tense and nervous, kind of fearing the worst. Anxiety is very much focused on what may happen in the future. So having those kind of intrusive thoughts, having those kind of fears, those overthinking a lot. And then there's like feeling disconnected from your body, and your baby might be struggling to bond with your baby while they're in utero. There's all those kind of feelings, and it's just a case of being able to say, this doesn't feel quite right for me. And that might be any level. There's no real, a lot of the things that you can do are self referrals and things that you can do yourself. You don't need to say to a GP, like, I'm feeling this way. And they don't need to judge you. If you feel anxious, that's your decision, and that's how you're feeling, and you should listen to that. And I think that's really important, because I speak to a lot of people that will say, I was really anxious, but I didn't think I was anxious enough. It's like, there is no enough.
Validating is that validation of your own emotions, right? And that you don't need almost like tick certain boxes to ask for help. Sometimes we feel that, in my experience, not in pregnancy, I kind of experienced anxiety after having my baby, but I felt like I was not falling into these tick boxes symptoms of, okay, I need help. It's almost like, okay, validating that you don't need someone else to tell you that you can ask for help to ask for help.
And there are services like within the NHS where they have to have that paper trail, and they have to have those tick boxes to know how severe something is. And for kind of more extreme cases where they would then go to like next steps, yes, they need that and they have that. But that's not how we should judge our anxiety by. We should judge it by how we're feeling and what we can do about it, and be quite proactive, which is hard when you're feeling all those intrusive thoughts to then go out and search for something. But I think it's really important to know what you're feeling is valid, and knowing that there are ways to help that don't need to involve tick boxes or validation from other sources, because whatever you think is enough. Like I would have these really crazy thoughts. Like I've never been scared of stairs. Like that's just nothing that ever popped into my mind. And then when I was pregnant and I lived by Seven Sisters tube station and I had to go down the stairs to the tube, and every morning on my way to work I would stand at the top of the stairs and be like, I'm going to fall down this stairs, I'm going to hurt my baby, something's going to go horribly wrong. And it was like, I've done that journey, I've been on those stairs like hundreds of times, and I've never fallen down them. But suddenly I just had every morning this really intrusive thought of like, this is my doom, I'm going to fall down these stairs, it's going to go horribly wrong. And that was me. I then said, wow, that's a real trigger for me, that I'm feeling really anxious about that. And then I was aware of it, and then you can kind of take steps to literally go down the steps and like know that that's how you're feeling and that's okay, and I'm going to be kind of empowered to move forward however I need to, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think also when we get pregnant, we're trying to have a family, and anxiety is certainly not something that we expect to feel when we're pregnant. And I think it's also important to raise awareness about, pregnancy, like motherhood, is not for everyone that feeling of, blessing and joyful and all that. Because the way we see, you see the photographs or videos or in marketing and advertising, that woman who's like feeling absolutely blessed by pregnancy. But for a lot of women, it's not like that.
I'd say majority of women, majority of the time, are struggling with their pregnancy, because there's a lot that happens to your body, to your mind, your whole body and your whole mind, and everything about your soul is preparing for motherhood. And it's like the biggest change of your life. And if you don't feel any anxiety, like, wow, like, well done you. That's amazing. But like that's awesome. But for everyone else, and I'd say the majority of us, there's a lot changing, and there's a lot that you have to relearn about your body and about yourself. And like I said, I'd never been scared of the stairs, and then all of a sudden I was like processing all this stuff, and it's kind of, you have to relearn everything about yourself and everything about your body, and that in itself is anxious. And then I would then get anxious. I was making my baby anxious. So I was like anxious on top of anxious. Like, it was just so much. And I remember I had a therapy session, and she was like, and I said this to her, like, I'm anxious now, I'm making my baby anxious. I need to stop being anxious to help my baby. And she said, well, think of it the other way, from your baby's point of view. You're teaching your baby that they can go through something that feels uncomfortable, that feels bad, and they'll get through the other side, and then they'll feel happy again. So you're actually teaching them that having negative emotions is okay, and feeling anxious is okay, because it's not the way we're going to feel forever, and we can work through that. And that really changed something in me, where I was like, actually, how I feel is okay. And I'm teaching my baby that they can feel however they need to feel in that moment, and that's also okay. And we'll get through it. We'll get out the other side. And those kind of they're really important skills for life, just especially in motherhood. Absolutely. Because
especially in motherhood, absolutely. And the way we talk about matrescence is not something that starts when you have a baby. It starts way before that. It starts in pregnancy, and for some people it actually starts before that. If you're
there's a massive journey that can happen before you turn up somewhere with a baby. There's a whole massive thing. Like, if you're trying to conceive or you're having fertility issues, that can raise a lot of anxiety of, why is it not happening? When's it going to happen? And then when it does happen, you're like so scared that it might, not happen. And there's a lot that goes on before you become a mum that really kind of sets you up for that journey into motherhood as well.
Absolutely. And how does hypnobirthing help? So, because when I did a hypnobirthing training when I was pregnancy for my first birth, but I always thought about it just focused on the birth, like thinking about that day. But how does it help throughout?
Oh, it's so helpful. I always say like the earlier you can do it in pregnancy, or even I don't know, start the kind of techniques before then is great, because there's lots of different aspects to hypnobirthing. There's
Hmm.
the breathing exercises are a really, really important thing. Um, but even just in the journey of pregnancy, having those moments, like 10 minutes a day to do those breathing exercises, is a moment for you and your baby to really focus in on what's going on. So we do a lot of breathing exercises, so they help calm your nervous system, kind of help calm that anxiety. There's also the hypnosis part, which freaks out a lot of people because they think they're going to get hypnotized. But it's
What
more
is it?
about it's more about the words that we use and the kind of reprogramming our mind. There's a lot of media influence about negativity around birth and around kind of being pregnant and birthing that can cause us to have quite negative reactions to the even the idea of giving birth. So the kind of
Mhm.
hypnosis part is all about reprogramming that mind so that you're not as fearful. So then it again lowers your anxiety through the whole
Mhm.
pregnancy journey. We also focus a lot on how to handle change. You might have a plan A, which is
Mhm.
a really natural, no drugs, water birth, and that's great. That's wonderful. Have your plan, put your plan in your brain as your visualization, but also have an ability to kind of handle change as well. Um, there's also a lot that we do around anchors. So
Mhm.
looking at your senses, and it's all about how to create that calm in whatever environment you're in. So be able to calm your body, calm your mind, lower your anxiety, which can be in pregnancy if you're going for an appointment and you're really nervous about it and you're feeling really anxious about it. It's kind of being able to get into that quick moment of calm.
Mhm.
So the anchors are things like your favorite music or a scent that might really calm you down because it reminds you of your childhood or anything like that. It's those anchors that ground you, and they're really important.
Yeah.
Uh, and then it's just about learning the process and learning what happens to your body. Not a lot of people know about the kind of hormones that are involved or what happens to your body. So then it is all a bit of a shock when things happen. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just about learning all those little things that happen to your body, and that's during pregnancy and birth. And then you can feel empowered to know, oh, I'm feeling this in my body, this is what I was expecting, or this is not what I was expecting, but maybe this means this. And it's having that kind of empowerment for your body. I also like to focus in my hypnobirthing courses on the birth partner, because I think they could be paramount to a positive experience. And even during pregnancies, having those moments where you might say to your partner, I'm feeling really, really nervous. Will you sit and read a hypnobirthing script to me, or will you massage me? And can we have
Yeah.
that moment to connect, which I think is really important. I think a lot of birth partners feel like they can't do anything and they're just
Yeah.
there as a spectator through pregnancy and birth and kind of the early days even of becoming a mother, like bringing the baby into the world, and having birth partners have a job to do almost. They like that it's quite tangible that they can hold on to the things that they can do to support you on that journey, because you're going through so much that
Of
having
course.
someone to rely on is really important. And yeah, just taking those times out. I focus a lot because I do focus a lot on anxiety. I like to work through triggers and things that would impact your anxiety during pregnancy. So learning those triggers and how you could plan. So for example, one of my triggers was getting to the hospital. I decided I wanted a hospital birth, and but getting to the hospital was a massive trigger for
The
me.
journey.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So not knowing if the baby was okay, not knowing, what was
Hmm.
going on, getting from my safe space at home to the hospital was like a massive thing for me. So I did a lot of work into how I could make that more comfortable, talking to my husband about what we could do as a partnership to make that. And it's learning those triggers to really identify, this is when I think I'm going to be the most anxious, or this, when I think about this, it brings up the most anxiety in me. It's kind of learning those things and learning how to process them. So we really focus a lot of
Yeah,
that.
I found that super, super important. And I
Mm.
think yeah, just involving the partner, the person's gonna be with you along the whole journey, through the
Yeah,
pregnancy, through birth potentially, and then
yeah,
after birth. And it's I found that understanding how birth worked is fascinating. It was
yeah,
the whole
yeah. It's mind blowing.
how our body works is mind blowing. And also actually sharing that with my partner was also it was very nice just to get him to understand how
Mm.
my body works,
Yeah,
and and getting him to understand what was going on, and in a way that also helped him more to feel more empowered as well.
hmm,
And yeah, and I lost my train of thought there. I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you about what happens when things go not as planned. Because I think,
yeah,
and you talked a little bit on that,
yeah, yeah.
but um, what in my experience, I went to the hypnobirthing, and I guess I was fascinated by the whole how the body works, and
Hmm.
I felt prepared, and I felt empowered, and I felt confident. Um, I knew there was other ways of birth,
Hmm.
and thought, I thought I was prepared for to adapt when the time came if things went differently, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't prepared really, and when things went sideways,
yeah. And I
I
think,
lost control.
yeah, and I think that that word is the most important word, control. So one of the things that when I talk to women and birthing people, and I say, what do you want? Like, for, not, I want a water birth, I want this, I want that. No, what do you want your birth to be? How do you want your birth to make you feel? And a lot of them say, I want to feel in control. Well, that
Mm,
you you can get that from any kind of birth. So cesarean, whether it's planned or an emergency, an induction like me, you can get that from any kind of birth. It's just focusing on that is what you need and how to achieve that. So, and that could look like different things for different people. So in control to some person might feel, it might look like I want it to feel like comfortable in my home. So, in which case,
mm,
you can say, whatever room I'm in, whatever happens, I want to have headphones in playing my favorite music. And that's
mm,
giving me that sense of control in my environment, wherever I am. Or it could be, I want to be in control. I want to feel like I'm making an informed decision, in which
mm,
case that could be something that your birth partner takes really, really seriously. And then you would communicate, that's what I need to feel in control. And your birth partner would then know, or whoever's there advocating for you would say she wants to feel informed. So I need you to tell me at every stage what is happening.
what's
Because
going on?
a lot of people, they say, so like birth wasn't progressing, and then they kind of go down this cascade of interventions, and then they feel like they're out of control because everything's happening so quickly and people telling them what to do, and there's lots of stuff going on, and they feel like they've spiraled. But
Yeah.
if you can stay focused on what makes you feel in control and
Hmm.
comfortable, then that will help you in whatever birth experience you have, because
Hmm.
the positive birth isn't about the type of birth that you have. It's about how that birth made you feel. So
Yeah.
if you had a cesarean, for example, but you were listening to your favorite music and your birth partner was rubbing, I don't know, stroking your hair because that's what you love, and you got to see your baby being born, that could be so powerful and so
Hmm.
positive. It doesn't matter how the baby came out. It was
Yeah.
that how you felt in that moment. And I think that's really important in the hypnobirthing kind of when you learn about hypnobirthing, it's not focusing in on, I want this type of birth, because if you don't get that type of birth, then you feel like you failed. And it's not about that. It's about what's important to you in terms of how will you feel like you've had a positive birth. So is it, like I said, how the environment looks? Is it how people are talking to you, the language that they use? Is all those kind of things about how you can stay true to you in that moment?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's such an exercise of self-reflection.
Yeah.
And making that just reflecting on really asking yourself that question. I don't think I ever asked myself that question, and it just does make sense.
Yeah, and that's why I think hypnobirthing may be a bit miscommunicated to the world. And obviously there's different ways that people do it. Like, there's so many online courses that you can do that just give you facts and figures about stuff. But I think for me, what's the most important thing and what really helped me in my pregnancy journey when I was having anxiety and wondering what was going to happen is knowing those triggers and knowing how I deal with those triggers and knowing how I can stay in control. And if you learn that, and that is positive reflection, and it's basically a therapy.
It is.
Treat pregnancy as like a therapy session the whole way through, and like you can do little things like journaling. I found was really helpful to a lot of people. So I used to write down at the end of every day the things that made me anxious that day. So it could be every day was those stairs, and then it could be little things like I didn't feel baby move for like half an hour, and that really worried, like scared me. So, or it could be, I don't know, lots of stuff. I've got an appointment tomorrow. I'm feeling really anxious about it, and I would write it down every day on a bit of paper, and then I would go outside and I'd set that paper on fire, and I'd release that anxiety and release those thoughts to the universe and say, okay, I've let it go now. And I think that was really, really really powerful to me.
That's beautiful, and
I
I
still
love
do
that.
that now. If I'm having a really bad day or I'm really struggling with something or there's a lot of stuff on my mind, I know I can just go and write it all down, and then I set
Just
fire
bring it
to
out.
it and I let it go.
I love it. I love it. It's beautiful, and I think so how can, and these little things that you mentioned, we can take them all the way through birth and beyond birth, and postnatally and years later, like you do. So I think it's
like
quite
I still do the breathing exercises regularly. If I need that moment of calm, I know what that looks like to me. So I take myself off and I might say to my husband, I need 10 minutes. And I go and I reset myself and I do the things that bring me joy. So it might be that I'm writing down my things and I'm burning them. It might be that I'm just sitting and doing a breathing exercise. It might be that I go and listen to my favorite music and have a dance around my bedroom. Whatever that is, I've learned that's what brings me joy. That's what calms me down. That's what deals with my anxiety. And that's really important in motherhood, because especially in the early days, you feel like you're losing yourself a little bit. And you feel like you give everything to this baby because they're so reliant on you. And it's about having those moments that might only be 10 minutes in the day, but those 10 minutes can change your whole day. So they're just really, really important.
And it's building that connection to yourself and just bringing yourself back to you in when everything around you might feel it's changing. It's having that anchor, like you said, that anchor back to yourself. So I think it is an amazing tool for beyond birth and all the way through motherhood. Great. Well, it's been lovely. We've come to the end of it. Yes, I know. I can't believe it. Right?
I could chat for hours on this.
It is a subject that pregnancy, birth, hypnobirthing, matrescence. We could just talk about it. There's so much to unpack about it. But so we thank you for joining me, Clover, and I will put posting this on my Instagram so people can watch it, and I put your links there. But tell me just quickly, just where can they find you? And
So it's Anchor and Moon Hypnobirthing is my Instagram, and then my website is anchorandmoon.co.uk.
perfect. Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you. You
Bye.
too. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us, for joining me and Clover in this Mothering and Matrescence Monday series. I will see you again next Monday. And next Monday, I've got a very special guest. She's Simone from Recenter. So we're talking about pelvic floor and postnatal fitness. So come and join us next Monday again at 12:30. And thank you. I'll see you later. Have a nice week.